Hi, everybody. It's around that time now where people have started to ask me how we're going to combine all of our separate scenes. So I put together this little tutorial about that. Now, in case you haven't or you missed it if you missed the class, a scene is basically an individual timeline. So when you open a new project or a new animation, this timeline down here, what you see here, essentially that's regarded as being a scene. And it's everything that's contained within that. Now, it's very possible if I was to go over here, you see where I've got my scene tab open. Now, if you don't see a scene tab over beside your properties in your library, go on up to Windows and make sure that scene is selected. If it's deselected, it's hidden. I'm going to bring it back up again. There it is. Okay. So to make a new scene, it's very straightforward. You literally just go all the way down here and you click on Add Scene. And there you go. And I have a brand new. So that is my first one. There's my second one. Brand new scene, brand new timeline, completely blank. Right? Now, so what I'm going to do is I prepared a couple of little animations here, which we're going to join together. Now, I have to say this just as a warning, right? This screen recording software is quite good, but once I run an animation in Adobe Animate, it starts dropping frames, and it starts dropping hundreds of frames, which means that the recordings that happen after I run the animation tend to be the audio will carry on as normal, but the scene will stick in the animation. So I'm just warning you about that. It's for that reason I'm only going to run this at the end, but I'll show you what we do. Okay, so I've got two scenes here, right? The first one, two projects. The first one has these four pictures. Now, if you look all the way over here in the right to our scenes tab, you'll see that I've got scene 0. That's the one we're on, and that's four buttons that go to four scenes. So this one here is scene 1. So when I click on scene 1, you'll see it's a larger version. And it's just an animation of a spaceship that flies from right to left with a spacey piece of music playing. This one here is scene 2. And you'll see scene 2 is exactly the same. There's the ship. I shouldn't have clicked on that. 3 doesn't work. I haven't got scene 3 in here. That's the one we're going to do. That's the purpose of this tutorial. We're going to insert scene 3. And then scene 4. There it is there. Again, there's your spaceship. Again. Okay, so the idea here is that at the moment we have 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons, but only 3 of them connect. The third one isn't actually working. We're going to put a scene in for that. And here is actually that scene 3. Okay, so this is the same idea. There's the ship outside. It moves from right to left. Piece of music. It's fine. So what we're going to do is here's how we join our scenes together so that scene 3 becomes part of this one. We go on into scene 3, and we look down here at all of our layers. We click on the first layer, we press and hold shift, and then we click on the bottom layer. Now we've now selected all of the layers in that scene. Essentially the entire scene is selected. We right click and we go copy layers. We go back into our other scene that we want to join that scene to. And like before, we go over here, we click on this little button down here that says add scene. And straight away we double click on it, make sure our caps is on, we go SCENE 3. There you go. So now we have our scene 3. Now we can click and hold that and drag it so that it goes into order. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's blank. All we do to insert those layers is right click over here in the timeline and go paste layers. There it is. So all of the layers from scene 3 have now been pasted into scene 3 in this project. So it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the only thing that's not right at the moment is if I look at these the action script for here. So here at the moment you'll see that what we have is this is scene 1 underscore BTN. This is a button, and when we click on scene 1 underscore BTN, the software is listening out for a mouse event, which in this case is a click, and when it does, it activates the scene 1 function. Now the function scene 1, the scene 1 function is to go to and play the very first frame of scene 1. So what happens when we click on that button, it jumps to here. Now that entire animation is contained in a movie clip on one frame. So what it does is it jumps to the very first frame of scene 1, which is there. And the only code that's on that scene waiting to go back is this home button up here, which basically says go back to the first frame of scene 0, which is here. Now the same with scene 2 underscore BTN. Basically when I click on that button there, here it is, scene 2 underscore BTN, listens out for the mouse event, which is a click. It activates the function scene 2, and the function scene 2 brings us to the first frame of scene 2, which is there, and it plays the animation. So it's straightforward enough, in fairness to it. Now, okay, so this code here will now control the third scene, which is already in. So it's already in place. So it's scene 3 underscore btn. It now has somewhere to go because we now have a scene 3. And the scene 3 function is basically to go to and play the first frame of scene 3. So when I click on that, the first frame of scene 3 is the animation. That's it. Okay. So we've now added that scene 3 from this project here into this one. And that should be the whole thing working. Now, I'm going to run the animation. It will probably freeze the entire thing, and I won't know until I play back the video. But because this is the second or third time I've done this, all I can do is try and go a bit more slowly. But the reality is running the animation drops frames in the screen capture. There's not a lot I can do. But you have the idea down now. I've done it the opposite way. I ran it a couple of times before, and then information that I was giving was lost in the screen drops. But this time, all that's going to happen at the end is the animation is going to run. Press Control, press Enter. Okay, so we have our 4 buttons. Let's try the first one. Seems to work perfectly fine. And the second one. And the all-important third one. And the fourth one. Okay, so they all work. Now, at this stage in the recordings, as far as I can remember, I went back into the timeline, into the edit window, and it was still showing a scene from the animation it was running. So I don't know where we are. I got a big spinny circle on the screen. So, yeah, okay. Right, so anyway, listen, that kind of explains that. You open the scene that you want to copy the layers from, and you select all of the layers by clicking on the first one, pressing Shift and clicking on the last one. Then you right-click and you copy layers. Then you go to the scene where you want to paste the previous scene to. You create a new scene and name it appropriately. You right-click down where the layers are and you go paste layers. All you have to do then is make sure that the correct code is in place in the home page or whatever other page links to that scene, so that when somebody clicks on the appropriate button, the code will bring them to that location. And that should be it. Now, in reality, it could be a bit more complicated because you're dealing with different people's timelines, different people's scenes. But if everyone is stuck to convention, if you've all made sure that your individual objects are all named uniquely and all of your functions are named uniquely and all of your symbols are named uniquely, if nothing can cross over anything else, and you've all used your initials, as we discussed at the beginning of the year, it should work seamlessly. Okay, so that's it.